welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. The movie I want to talk about today comes from 1976. This is the Marquise of O. It stars Brunu, Ganz, and Edith and is directed by Eric Rohmer from a short story by Heinrich von Kleist that is set in 1808. This is the time period of the Napoleonic Wars. The film opens, however, in a cafe where someone is reading the paper, local newspaper, and comes across an odd piece, like a person that would appear in a personal column, where the Marquesa is asking for whoever had sexual relations with her, please come forward, and marriage may be in the offing. And this is very odd. Everybody seems to laugh about it. But this is indeed the case. The Marquesa is pregnant, and yet she has no recollection of having any intercourse in many years, because she is a widow with a couple of small children. So now we go back to the circumstances which led to this very odd case. Marquesa lived with her family, a widow, 2 young children. Her brother lives there. Her parents, her father is a colonel in the Italian army, and the Russian army comes and they overwhelm the castle. The women go out to try to escape into the fields, but they're quickly trapped by a couple marauding Russian soldiers. But the Marquesa and her companions are saved because the Russian count quickly appears, wounds one of the attackers, and the rest of them flee away. Marquesa is traumatized. She's put into a room where she is administered deep sleeping tablets, and then the following day, and she has recovered. And the following day, the Count comes by and tells her that he's proposing marriage to her. She's very grateful and wants to thank him heartily for what he's done. She doesn't want to. She has made a vow never to marry again. But the Count, played by Brunu Ganz, is insistent that she marry him. Not just marry him, but marry him right now, right today, because he's off to Naples with dispatches. He doesn't know how long he's going to be gone, and then he may be transferred to Constantinople. So he needs to get an answer right away, which of course the Marquesa and her parents are unwilling to give such a, they don't even know. He seems like a very noble man, but they don't even know each other. So the Count finally agrees to leave, only if when he comes back from Naples, there'll be a positive answer. They're worried that he will stay on, because he's threatening to stay on and not take the dispatches to Naples, but then they fear that his military career would be in jeopardy. So the Count does go away, but he stays a lot longer than he had intended to. In the meantime, the Marquesa becomes ill, and she starts to show symptoms that she is pregnant. However, she has no recollection of having any sexual relations. And her parents believe her. She must be ill, even though the doctor comes and proclaims she is indeed pregnant. But he's a quack. They dismiss him. But then the midwife comes, and the midwife says, I can feel the baby. You are indeed pregnant. At that point, the parents abandon their daughter. They send her out to exile, which is a beautiful country house not far away, with their 2 children. And they never want to see her again. She has, in their mind now, they believe that she has had sexual relations, and this is inexcusable by the social norms of which they are living in. So the Countess is disconsolate, losing her parents. How could she have ever gotten pregnant? And this is why she puts the ad, this rather quixotic ad in the local newspaper. So this point of the film, we've already seen how much love the parents have for their daughter. And it is really heart-rending to see how quickly, on a dime, they change to anger and put her into exile. And they are angry. This film reminded me, in this part of the film at least, of Effie Breese, the Fassbinder film that I talked about a couple of years ago, where Effie also crosses the line of the rules of the game of the society she lives in, and her parents disown her. And I was also reminded of Buñuel, being that I'm in the middle of a Buñuel year-long series talking about his movies, because this is a kind of surrealistic situation. It's almost funny. How can this be? And there's a considerable amount of suspense that builds up in this, and in all of Rohmer's films, there's a kind of hypnotic effect. We want to see, we've like with his contemporary films, we want to see what happens to these people. We've grown to like them. We've grown to see like we're almost living within this castle and this country estate. And this is very much an old-fashioned type of filmmaking, very formalistic. Pauline Kael complained about it. She said this movie was too formalistic. There's no music. It's very austere. We are seeing things from the outside. This is not a Hollywood version of such a story where all the emotions are underlined, but we watch them and we see them develop, and we care about the people. It's very much more akin to literature. Rohmer was a literature teacher in high school before he became a critic and started making short films, and he was very attached to the great literature of great French literature, and also playwrights. Rohmer was also a stage director. And he made this film in German. It's a German short story, and he took two theater actors, Bruno Ganz. This is his debut film. Bruno Ganz was in The American Friend and another Wim Wenders film, and quite a few other films, some in English, but certainly a whole lot of European films. And Edith Kleva, she was also a stage actress. And so this film looks absolutely gorgeous. Nestor Almendros' cinematography, hope there's not too much glare there. The decor is amazing. The costumes are amazing. Getting back to to Rohmer's, the difference between these films, these historical films, and the contemporary films, is there really that much of a difference? I was starting to think as I was watching this film, what really is the difference? That the technique is the same. The formalist character of Rohmer's direction is really the same in his contemporary and historical films. And in a lot of the contemporary films, we get days, so it's like almost like a diary. So it's incidents occur, and then it's June 16th. Some more incidents, June 18th. Here we get intertitles, and these intertitles are much more expansive than that, and I suspect they come from Heinrich von Kleist's short story itself. Now, I downloaded Marquise of O and Other Stories on Amazon, but when I opened it up, I discovered that the short story is not there. And the story that in the index is titled Marquise of O is a totally different story. But I did read some of the other stories. They're very twisted, very unusual. Von Kleist was a very influential writer, but he died very early. At the age of 34, he and his wife were in a suicide pact, so he died very young. But he made a big impression and has been a big influence on subsequent literary works. So, in discussing, again, this Rohmer's technique here, I found there's a quote in David Thompson's biographical dictionary of filmmaking, that biographical dictionary of cinema, that has a very positive essay on Rohmer, and he ends it by saying that Rohmer was like a movie maker from the 18th century come to visit. And I think you get a very vivid account of that here in Marquise of O. Some of his other historical films, he made a film about Percival. His penultimate film was Triple Agent, which was a World War II spy story. And then he went, and I don't have that, but I do have The Lady and the Duke, an old DVD copy of The Lady and the Duke, which is set in the French Revolution. It's a very good film, and someday I hope to talk about it. And I was watching Michael Bartlett's live stream a few days ago, in which he said nobody ever talks about Eric Rohmer's historical movies. They're just forgotten. Rohmer is living on. You know, his films seem to be living on. They still have a lot of appeal to modern day audiences. But I figured, well, let's try and talk about one. So thanks, Mike. I'm following your comment that no one talks about Rohmer's historical movies, and now at least I won. Okay, thanks a lot for listening. Comments are welcome. Take care.